Hello, everybody. Welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. I'm, of course, your host, David. On point right there is Mr. TJ Hopkins. And unfortunately, we got to report on some bad news going on in the NBA. As I talked about yesterday, we planned on doing an NFL show, but then as NBA news happens, as breaking news happens, we like to cover it as it happens here at the Prime Sports World to bring you the latest information as it makes it available to us. But if you're looking for consistent content on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Prime Sports World is a pretty good place to hang out. We go live basically every single day, bringing the most up-to-date content, including this show, which is basically like breaking news. We're talking about Chet Holmgren getting injured, the number 2 pick in the 2021 draft. Also, I have shared the StreamYard link into the all of the places, including the main Prime Sports World Facebook page. So if you want to join us and talk a little bit about this Chet Holmgren injury, because it's something to talk about, that's for sure. We would love to have you on the show, as I mentioned, as many times as we can. Keep it PG because we don't want to get in trouble with Mark Zuckerberg. TJ, happy Wednesday, man. Wednesdays are usually like my favorite day of the week because like I work Monday through Friday, right? And like everybody's kind of over that like Monday, Tuesday angst, and they're like already starting to look back towards the weekend, right? So everybody's in a much better mood than they are at the beginning of the week. And I just love Wednesdays, but I hate getting news like this. How's your day going?
It's all right. Not over yet, but it's all right.
All right. Fair enough. Let's get into the actual core of the show. Chet Holmgren injured. Initial exam revealed a potentially torn ligaments in Holmgren's right foot. Holmgren, 7 feet tall, 190 pounds, was the second overall pick in the 2020 draft or 2022 draft. Holmgren appeared to suffer the injury during a pro-am game hosted by Jamal Crawford. It also featured a lot of other NBA players. He actually got injured on the play guarding LeBron James as he tried to stop him from getting a breakaway score. Let's just talk about the injuries first, and then we can talk about some of the other stuff. Thoughts on the injury? Just in general, if it is what people think it is, what's your thoughts on it?
Could have happened at any given point. Something also tells me that it was bound to happen at any given point. If it's the injury that people think it is, that means he probably hurt that foot a while back, didn't think anything of it, and just continued to play on it, and progressively was making it worse without even knowing it. So if it's the injury that people think it is,
this is a worst case scenario for a player of Chet Holmgren's stature, because this foot injuries is what's finished Yao Ming's career. I'm not saying this is the exact same injury, but it's not that injury. Like this is probably going to be a Liz Frank injury. I think a Liz Frank is the break of that middle bone in the bottom of your foot. This is a worst case scenario for a guy who's 7 feet tall and really skinny. This is probably very similar to the injury that Kevin Durant had a few years ago. If you remember that he missed that entire season, that team ended up missing the playoffs because of that. This is an absolute worst case scenario for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like you think you're gonna have a team that's have a nice core. I mean, I don't think you're gonna win a lot of games next season, but you want to see this players like these Chet Holmgren, SGA, because you get to make a decision on some of these guys, their future on the roster. But like SGA, like if you're gonna trade him or try to like if he's the piece. And now this is all kind of thrown into a tussle because we don't really know how long the timetable is going to be. If even like they may just shut him down for the entire year and just like, we're going to tank and try to get Victor Wembanyama. I don't even know if I pronounced that right. Probably not. But this is not a good injury at all for somebody who's 7 feet tall, 190 pounds. Can handle the basketball. He's supposed to be the versatile big man. They took him second overall in the draft. This is a absolute worst case scenario when it comes to the injury.
Well, they obviously not taking for Victor Wembanyama because they got him and they got Pokusevski. So you don't want.
I don't think Pokusevski's in their future plans.
You don't want 3 7-footers that don't weigh 200 pounds.
It's true. It's true.
You already have your Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren. Again, I think it's like, is it a big deal? Yeah. Is it as big as a deal as you making it out to be? No.
I think it's a huge deal. I'm very concerned.
It happens. It's an injury. Like, what's the difference between getting hurt doing the pro-am and then
we'll get to that aspect of it in a minute. I want to continue talking about just the injury itself. Like I don't think this is a good scenario for the Chet Holmgren and the Oklahoma City Thunder. This is the worst thing you want to have happen.
Oh yeah, obviously you don't want your first overall pick to get hurt. But again, something tells me that he was gonna get hurt anyway. Maybe like in some way, shape, or form. But again, this injury, he probably hurt this foot sometime in college. Didn't think nothing of it. Doctors probably cleared him back in
Well,
Gonzaga.
he obviously went through the medicals during the draft process, and so when he went through the medicals, they obviously were like, okay, he's fine. They didn't find anything,
Fine.
so they didn't find his ligament tear, and like, yeah, this is one of those freak things that just kind of happens.
So this was, yeah, this had to be, or if he didn't get hurt in college, he definitely probably did something to it during summer league, right, which is after the draft process, right? He was a part. I think OKC was a part of that. What, that Salt Lake City summer league?
Yes, they were.
Then they go to the Vegas summer league, and yeah. So this probably happened during that time, and again, he probably didn't think nothing of it, like most athletes do. Like, damn.
I like tweak. I have a super tweaked meniscus, and I just play on it every day. Like I was like whatever. Like I'm sure it was. I'm sure at some point I'm gonna rupture it, but knock on wood that it's not happened yet. Because I play basketball every day, and like after I'm done, like I can't like bend my leg in if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like,
yeah, I can extend it fine, but if I try to bend it like at the knee and like try to bend it into like my leg, it hurts like hell. It's real painful.
So I take it squats are a no-go for you.
No, I can do squats.
Oh, you can do squats? Okay.
Yeah, I do squats whenever. Every time I go out drinking, I do squats.
Shut up.
I'm serious, dude. I do. I have this thing called squats and shots, and I do some squats and then I take a shot. It's fantastic.
Great example you're setting for the kids, David.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I'm pretty concerned about this injury. I don't think this is a good scenario. Let's talk about the game he got injured in. So this is the first potential serious injury to come out of any of these pro-am games in the history of that setup. Mm-hmm. But if you were a GM / owner, would you even want your players to play in those games?
Well, considering
put your GM owner hat on.
Considering it's the first injury in the history, like serious injury in that we hear of out of these pro-ams, and now it seems like these pro-ams are getting televised. Like
they're making money off of it, and you know who's not making money off it? Oklahoma City Thunder.
This is a huge thing. Like they are televising pro-ams now. And more are popping up. Like I think Miami now has one, or maybe they had one. It's just now getting more eyes because I think Donovan Mitchell and Bam teamed up on the team in the Miami Pro-Am.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of these that go on. They happen basically, every week, basically every weekend. You can probably find a pro-am game that has some NBA players playing on it.
I think the biggest two are the Drew League in California and Jamal Crawford's up in Seattle. So in the one in Seattle, the crossover, as he so eloquently calls it, and he spells crossover as
CRAW.
Yeah. Over.
Yeah.
So we already know like the basketball history in Seattle is a rich one.
Yeah, it's immense.
Yeah. And this is all they got, unfortunately, right? Like they get a pro
for now. Sure.
For now, hopefully that changes in the next
CBA in the next 5 years or so.
Handful of years. So this was free admission. So this is as close as some of those people in that building are going to get to seeing pros play basketball, right? And it was a big deal because Jamal Crawford, he stayed playing in it. It's his pro-am. Jamal Crawford's going to play basketball till he can't walk no more. Like
it's true. I have 100% faith that's an accurate statement for sure.
I am thoroughly convinced in that. And then DeJounte Murray, he plays. DeJounte Murray is also from the Seattle area. Aaron Gordon called up, said he's coming. LeBron, like the big one was LeBron James announcing he was coming. Chet Holmgren said he was coming because that's kind of a quote unquote homecoming for him because Gonzaga is in Washington. I don't know what part, but it's a return for him, and I think Banchero was there too. Paolo Banchero was there too.
I mean, yeah, him and DeJounte Murray have been going at it basically all summer in those summer league games or in those pro-amp games. I'm not so like so I'm not unaware that basketball players are going to play basketball no matter what. And I'm also not aware that this particular injury could have happened anywhere. Like I'm not naive to those things. Like I understand that basketball players play basketball. Like people who don't even play basketball play basketball. Like if you play basketball as part of your life, it's something you're going to do on a regular basis. And I completely understand that sometimes you get injured. But if I'm putting on my GM and my ownership hat, there's no chance I'm letting my players play in those games. There's just no way. Like there's too much. Like I'm gonna have to flip the bill to pay for that surgery now that Chet Holmgren's hurt. The Thunder are, not the Pro Amp where he got hurt, the Thunder. And I lost out on some time to see that these players mesh together and play and develop together. There's zero chance if I was a GM/owner that I would allow my players who I'm under contract with that they're hard to play under, like they play when I tell them to, or like, you know, when I give them, that's under their contract. There's no chance. There's just no way I would allow it. And I realize that I 100% realize I'm in the minority here.
So what's the difference between him getting hurt in this pro-am and let's just say he's training, he's working out, like, because you can't go to your team facility up until a certain time, right?
Yeah, I know.
So what happens if he's conducting his own workouts with his trainers and his injury happens then? What do you do then?
That's just, it happens, but you're putting yourself at unnecessary risk. But you're putting yourself at unnecessary risk by playing in pro-ams.
You're putting yourself at risk regardless.
Yeah, but this is different. It's just different.
It's not different. It's not different.
I know I'm in the minority. I know I'm in the minority. I know when we had this talked about this in the group chat, I was the only one who felt this way. I would absolutely no way I would allow my players to go other places and generate revenue for other places and then get hurt, and then for my team to have to flip the bill to make that whole again. I 100% realize I'm in the minority, and people are going to make the argument that, you know, he's going to play basketball. He's a basketball player. He could have got hurt anyways. He could have got hurt anywhere. That's all true. It's all true. I know I'm in a minority and I'm in an unpopular opinion, but that's exactly how I feel about it. If I was somebody who was a GM, there's no way I'd let my players play in those games. Just no way.
Well, considering that this is the first quote unquote severe injury out of one, the track record is, you know,
this injury has very little to influence how I my opinion on it. Like I've always like whenever I hear about these pro-am games and I hear all the names of the NBA players on there, I'm like, how are NBA players okay with this? Like I just NBA teams okay with it. It baffles me. Like I always felt this way, and it's just like somebody gets injured, and it's just a showcase for exactly why I feel the way I feel about it. Because I think, I'm like one of those guys when I analyze basketball. I think as a GM, like I enjoy watching basketball. I enjoy playing it, but I'm more excited about the contracts and stuff and making money work and figuring out how to make trades. And like this injury is just another reason why I would never let my players play there. Just no way.
So what happens if Olympic play, right? Like what if you I don't want you to play. I don't want you to play in the Olympics. I don't want you to do FIBA. I don't want you to do none of that. What about those international players that come over here, and then they in the off season they play for their league back home? Then what? Like what? You can get hurt at any given point.
I mean, Paul George did get hurt and changed the direction. Maybe not changed the trajectory of his career, but at least affected his career with the Indiana Pacers, because he never was the same player with them, and he was gone when he was finally healthy again. I think that's a dicey area. I think because you're playing for your country, I almost feel like it's a little bit different than something like this.
Is there money involved in that? I don't think there's any money involved in that.
But I don't know. I think it's one of those gray areas. Like if I was the GM, I probably wouldn't want my players playing in the Olympics either. I'd probably be like, hey, if you're under contract, you can go play at the Y where people aren't making money off of it, where you're not selling tickets. I know it was free, but it's being televised and other people are making money off it. And it's on the team you're under contract for.
how do you rationale that? Like, do you realize they can also get hurt playing at the Y?
Yeah, I know, but at least nobody's making money off of it.
Because you don't like, do you not realize that someone is gonna like be a Joe Tryhard and be like, hey, you're in the NBA, I'm not. I'm gonna show you that I can hang with. If I can hang with an NBA player, I can hang with the rest of them. And most people don't like. What are you talking about? Like most people don't get paid at these pro-am games.
I know, but there's TV deals and like all that other
With
stuff.
who?
Like, I mean, it's odd. I mean, the pro was aired on TV, right? Somebody
no,
was able to. Yeah, I mean, you were able to.
NBA.com provided
Yeah,
you
need
for
to
free.
You need to have you need to have NBA.
No, you don't. You can go to. I went to NBA.com, click the link to watch a pro, and there was no broadcast. There was no color commentary. There was nothing.
Okay. Either way, I still stand
Nobody
by.
got paid.
I do not
There
want
is
my.
no
I would not.
money.
I would not want my players playing in these games if I was an owner or GM. I just wouldn't. I'm obviously not an owner / GM, or I probably wouldn't be making podcasts every day. But I just, that's my honest opinion on it. I think this is set a precedent. I think there's going to be a shift in how many players actually are playing this, and I think the Hawks are going to be one of those teams that thinks about like, hey, maybe we shouldn't have DeJounte Murray and Trae Young and John Collins and like basically all of our young core playing these games because it just in a second it could all go up in smoke.
No, it's not. It's not going to happen.
We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
If they come up with a stipulation that hey, you can only play basketball during these allotted times of the calendar in team control facilities because we don't want you to get hurt, the players are going to use the same argument like I can get hurt any given point.
True. So I never said there should be language in their contracts that disallow them from playing in this stuff. I just personally, as a GM, I know players are going to do it, and like I just wouldn't like it. I'm allowed to not like things. I mean, right? I mean, I don't like a lot of stuff. I don't like Draymond Green all that much. I don't like.
Draymond was literally playing in Rico Hines Pro-Am.
I don't like guacamole. All right, I just
like Draymond Green was literally playing in Rico Hines Pro-Am. Patrick Beverly, I think, did it like 2-3 weeks ago. Like there is, and all of a sudden Chet Holmgren gets hurt, and it's no more NBA players in Pro-Ams. Really? Come on, man.
But I've always kind of felt that way. I just kind of stay as the quiet minority because I know everybody else disagrees with me. So because it's really good. It's box office. That's the way I feel about it. Let us know in the comment section. What do you think about this injury for Chet Holmgren? I think it's really bad. Also, what do you think about NBA players playing in these games in the first place? If you were owner / GM, would you want your players to play in those games? Let's talk about opening night. Opening night, Tuesday, October 18th, 2022. Something a little more positive in the show. We got 2 games, both rivalry games, sort of. Philadelphia 76ers going into TD Garden, take on the reigning Eastern Conference champion Boston Celtics. And then the Los Angeles Lakers, fresh off that LeBron James extension and not trading Russell Westbrook, going up to Golden State into Oracle. It's not called Oracle anymore, right? They changed it? They don't play at Oracle anymore, right?
Chase Center.
The Chase Center go against the defending, reigning, undisputed Golden State Warriors. I just did a little Paul Heyman there. I hope you guys all enjoyed that. Which of these 2 games are you more excited about for opening night of the NBA season?
Opening night? Well, everybody is already writing off that second game, that Lakers-Warriors game. That's going to be a blowout because the Warriors are they are getting their rings, they hanging the championship banner in front of LeBron, like, they're hanging in front of LeBron, how dare they? Like, bro, knock it off. And they're already writing it off also because of the moves that the Lakers didn't make, i.e. them getting rid of Westbrook, whatever. It's definitely that Celtics 76er game because if you're Boston, you probably feel like you let one get away. Like you probably should have won that 4-1. Going back and looking at the games, like you were up in game 1, No, you were up in game 2 and you lost, and then you had some games in Boston
I
that you
mean, they were up in game 4. They had a big lead in game 4, and they lost that game. They
right
easily could have came back and won game 5 and 6.
and
So
6, and you
so
lost. So you
yeah,
let
he
one
lost
get
all those games that we talked about where they could have won. They didn't.
could have. So like you're looking at like, damn, you probably should have won that ring that series last year 4-1, right? Keeping it a buck. Um, you made moves that made your roster better. You signed
I mean, Danilo
Gallinari,
Gallinari trading basically nothing for
Malcolm
Malcolm Brogdon.
Brogdon.
Like,
So
whew.
you're in your mind, all right, we're going back. All right, like this is the journey back to the championship. All right, now if you're Joel Embiid, MVP campaign, it starts now.
Yeah,
It starts now. Like I don't know if I said it on here, but I definitely said it in that group I'm in with Christian. Um, Joel Embiid is my pick to win the 2023, like the this year's MVP. I feel like it could have went either way last year. I had no issue with Joker winning it whatsoever, but Joel Embiid is my pick to win it unless somebody just goes absolutely
like
bonkers. And
Luca maybe.
yeah, like if they just go nuts and take it from him. And James Harden, I saw the pictures. I don't know if they were real, but you're looking super super fit and also super super skinny. Like the head, like your head is bigger than the rest of your body.
Well,
Like
I
I
think
don't
he's I think he's extremely motivated to
change some narrative about it.
change 100% change that narrative because the narrative surrounding him right now is not ideal.
So,
So
and not to mention Doc Rivers, right? Like I
I mean,
said it.
I mean, Doc Rivers. I mean, he's got this reputation of being like one of the better coaches in the league, but he's only got one ring to show for it. And he's had teams that have woefully underachieved everywhere he's gone, basically.
And the thing I mentioned the last time we were all together that's not being talked about is Mike D'Antoni is just lingering around the 76ers. And that's something that really needs to be paid attention to because Harden, Daryl Morey, and Mike D'Antoni are like they tight,
Yeah,
right? Like they are a tight knit group.
they spent 6 seasons together in Houston. I mean, something like that.
And I would not be surprised they if some Phillies if Philly has a dull stretch and they hit a rough patch and the Doc Rivers out, Mike D'Antoni in talks start again, right? Back to the second game, right? Darvin Ham, this is your first game as an NBA coach, and it just so happens to be the reigning champs, right?
Reigning, undisputed, the conquering Golden State Warriors.
How unfair of that is to you, right?
It's a
You
bad draw. It's not.
bad,
It's not ideal. It's not ideal.
you got a point guard on your team where everybody is just like, oh, get like they just magically think like if you get rid of this one dude, all your problems are gone. You know, like it just magically fixes everything. Again, 18, 7, and 7 is great third option numbers when options 1 and 2 are always there. So this whole Westbrook never accepted his role. Yes, he did. It's just how can I be the role y'all quote unquote want me to be when LeBron ain't there and AD ain't there? So who am I playing second and third fiddle to if fiddle 1 and fiddle 2 ain't there? Make it make sense.
I can't. I think we've had this debate about Russell Westbrook until it's like I'm almost tired of talking about him. We've been talking about Russell Westbrook since we were like toward blue in the face. I'm blue in my face, man. I'm tired of talking about Russell Westbrook. I literally cannot do it again. I think Russell.
Golden State expectations, realistic expectations for James Wiseman, Moody, Kuminga. Apparently,
Jordan Poole taking another step too. I mean, he's had like one really good season, and he had like a mediocre season where he wasn't playing with anybody, where he just put up big numbers on a bad team. I mean, how much do you really buy into that season? I mean, he's had one good season, and he wants to get paid like a max player. No, do it again.
Do it again. So
like PJ there.
All right, and I literally just found this out. So apparently, Jonathan Kuminga is on some having some issues, like not big issues off the court, not big enough to make the news or make headlines, but it's inside. It's concerning to the Warriors brass. Like, hey, yo, like on some, hey, get it together quickly kind of stuff. I'm really excited to see Wiseman. Like, hopefully he can stay healthy. Same thing with Clay. This is Clay's first time back where he can like literally just focus on basketball. He's not rehabbing. He's not doing any of that. He's just focusing on basketball.
You can make the same argument for James Wiseman too. I mean, James Wiseman
Yeah,
spent
yeah,
all of last year rehabbing.
Right, you're not focusing on rehabbing. You are literally just focusing on basketball. So it's definitely some headlines and storylines to look out for, because if you're the Warriors, like you're looking at least Moody, Wiseman, and Kuminga to be the next version of Steph, Clay, and Draymond for the next decade, probably. Like, hopefully, right? Like you're looking for like that. Like that's what you're looking for. Also, Andrew Wiggins. Like, what do you do with him?
Yeah, I mean, that's a more of an off-season thing where they're gonna have to make some real decisions on players on this.
It's a big season for a lot of people on the Warriors.
True. All of those young guys. I mean, they have to step into shoes where established role players help them win a title. Now you have those young players who are going to step into those shoes. The game I'm more excited for is the first one, the Boston Celtics going up against the Philadelphia 76ers, because there's legit bad blood between those two teams. If you're friends with anybody who's a Philadelphia 76ers fan, as a Boston Celtics fan, they do not like the Sixers, and they talk mad stuff about them all the time.
Man.
And I think you may know who I'm talking about. If you're friends with this one person on Facebook who went to NIU with us.
Maybe.
Celtics fan who...
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He posts all sorts of stuff about Philadelphia, dude. Like when they don't win the title, like when they lose any game ever, dude, he's like posted all about it. There's bad blood between those two franchises, and I want to see it play out on the opening night. The Boston Celtics are gonna, they get ready to try to reclaim their title as, the best team in the Eastern Conference, what they probably still are. The moves they made in the offseason have been real good. Philadelphia did some nice moves, some savvy moves in the offseason, even though they're going to be investigated for the way they handled it.
Yeah. I mean, it's
the first game. This is not close.
That's at least a second round pick for them.
And the second game, I think there's some intrigue there, but the Lakers are going to be trash. Like LeBron James basically LeBron James has decided that winning is not his top priority anymore. Like for real, but based on signing that contract extension, he's decided that winning not my top priority. Becoming the greatest earner of money as an NBA player ever has become his priority, and like living the life that he wants to live, even though I'm sure he could do that no matter what he does or where he wins. The Lakers are gonna stink. They're I don't know. Golden State's going to trounce them on opening night. Boston is the team.
But before we get out of here, did you see this thing that the NBA is coming out with? It's called Rivalry Week. Did you see that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, so it's not till like the middle part of this. It's not till January. It's like January 24th to the 28th, and it's 11 games. Like you want to, like obviously, like some of them are pretty, like expected, like guaranteed, like we know for a fact, like this is like Lakers, Celtics, that's one of them. What you call it? Clippers, Lakers, another one. Some of these I did not know were quote unquote rivalries.
Celtics Heat.
Right, Celtics Heat, that's happening. Maverick Suns, I guess that just happened.
I don't consider that a rivalry. Clippers, Lakers. It's Brooklyn Nets, Sixers, which I don't consider that a rivalry either. The Memphis Grizzlies, Golden State Warriors, because they had a 6-game series in the playoffs one time. Can we please come on?
Minnesota and Memphis, like that's a rivalry. Like the one guy that made it. That's not a rivalry.
Those Chicago Bulls and the Charlotte Hornets, because they both have a ball brother on it. That's not a rivalry either, dude. Come on, some of these are just
even dating back to the 90s, it wasn't a rivalry. Like it just wasn't like. Denver.
So this one I like Denver Sixers, just the Joel Embiid Jokic rivalry. I think that's pretty fun. Raptors Warriors rematch of the finals a couple years ago where everybody got hurt.
Yeah, I mean, like, but even then, it's not the same because if Kawhi was still there, yes, right. If Kawhi and Kyle Lowry were still on the Raptors, like then it would be at least competitive.
The thing is that, like, I don't understand how the Bulls are like going up against like
The
Milwaukee
Knicks
or the Knicks or Miami,
or
like
the Pacers or like well
yeah,
not
the
the Pacers.
Pacers.
The
I
Pacers.
mean, I do know they're going to play a lot during the regular season, anyways, because they may play during this week anyways because they're in division opponents, but
Right.
yeah, I mean, this is a fun. I guess the NBA is going to make all sorts of money off of it, but like this is a meh idea for me. I just don't. I don't love it.
Bulls Knicks made a lot of sense. I like the Knicks Nets because like they literally right there. One plays in New York City, the other plays in Brooklyn. Madison Square Garden versus Barclays. It's like right there, like the whole Battlefield New York thing. Like I like that. Like that's intriguing. And those games tend to be closer than people think. But yeah, the whole Minnesota Memphis thing, like because they had 1 6 game playoff series, and
I mean, you're saying the same thing with Memphis Golden State. Like they had one decent series that's considered a rivalry. Come on. I think that's a stretch. Like, I think what I'd like to have seen, like the Spurs Suns. Like even though I know both those the Spurs in particular are not good anymore, that's still like a really long-standing rivalry. Like the Rockets Spurs, like
Rockets Mavs. Like hell, even if you did Atlanta versus it's kind of the same boat. Like Atlanta Knicks, like that one playoff series that they had, like. I don't know, like it, and well, I guess the Memphis
Hawks. I mean, they had a 7-game series a couple years ago. Why not put them in a 7-game?
I think what plays into Memphis and Golden State with them being a rival, like they are also playing on Christmas. They have a Christmas Day game.
I like that actually. I like getting. We'll talk about Christmas Day games a little bit later on the crossover on another day. I just wanted to cover opening night, and this kind of rivalry is kind of fun. It's going to happen between January 24th and Saturday, January 28th. So in 2023. So next year, what? This is next year?
Next January.
Oh, this is next year. I thought this was happening during this season.
Yeah, it is. Like this season coming up, like this January coming up, like they're doing this.
Oh, January's after the. Oh, you know what? I've had a long day. I'm gonna go to bed. For some reason, never mind. Just forget it. I'm losing my mind here, man. It's all good. But yeah, that's been. But yeah, I've been David Hubbard right there. Mr. TJ Hawkins. For some reason, I thought like we were still in 2021, and when the calendar rolls around, it's gonna be still 2022. I just, it's one of those days, man. But yeah, I've been David Hubbard right there. This is TJ Hopkins. And thank you very much for watching us here at Prime Sports World. Please like, share, and subscribe. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing our planned show that was for today. We're going to be talking about some position battles in the NFL and who we think is going to take those spots. We're going to talk a little bit about the Seattle, Pittsburgh, those scenarios, and I could talk about a little bit of the backup running back situations. But yeah, TJ, what do we do here at the Prom, my friend?
We bring the heat.
Yes, sir. We do bring the heat. And we'll be back here tomorrow. You have a good night, man. Have a good night at work.
See you, man.
Good, brother.